Good afternoon to everybody. I'm very pleased to be today with you on this, I would say, innovative session. I will explain to you why I believe it's an innovative session on promoting outreach and co-creation with member states on Horizon Europe implementation. Is this the way forward? I put a question mark. I'm very happy to be together today with distinguished panelists, female panelists. And this is a real female panel, and this is maybe a message that we need to promote more women in research and innovation. And we have with us very distinguished female leaders in the area of research and innovation, which I would like to introduce first of all. Karina Anchileva, the Deputy Minister of Education and Science. Good morning, Karina, very happy to have you with us. Liga Legna, the State Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Science in the Republic of Latvia. Hello, Liga. Carmen Castresana, the Director General for Research Planning at the Spanish Ministry of Science. Carmen, hello, I hope you can hear us very well. And Cornelia Schneider, the Senior Scientific Officer of the Project Management Agency in the German Aerospace Center. I would like to welcome all of you to this session, and I will explain why it is an innovative session in my view. When I joined DG Research and Innovation, and after some experience in other programs and domains in the central managed programs of the Commission, one of the most amazing experiences that I had, it was the role of the national contact points. It was the funding and tenders portals that we have put in place. It was all these outreach exercises that we had promoted in view of informing the beneficiaries, the member states and the stakeholders on how the program is implemented. But what we haven't done so far, it was an outreach event on the creation of the implementation of the new program. And I remember while we were discussing with our colleagues, and after a very inspiring innovation session that I had in the United States, I came back and I said to all my colleagues, well, you know, if we want to deliver an implementation framework that matters for the users, not for us that we are behind the offices in Brussels, we have to go out. We have to reach the stakeholders. We have to go to the member states. And this is why we started an enormous effort in the year before 2019, I think, yes, it was 2019, where we went out to all member states and bundle of administrators from Brussels to listen to the needs of the stakeholders, to explain to them what are our ideas for the future implementation of Horizon Europe program, what are our ideas for simplification, and how we would like to establish a more simpler and more powerful implementation framework in Horizon Europe. We went out to 20 or 23 events, and we received a lot of inputs through a public consultation that we did. And what we are presenting in these R&I days, it is the result of this intense collaboration and co-creation, I would say, with the member states and the stakeholders. So NCPs, of course, played and will play forever a very important role in the implementation of this program. But the purpose of this session today is to take a stock of the experience that we had of this co-creation exercise during the establishment of the implementation strategy for Horizon Europe, to listen to the experience that they had, the members of this panel, the panelists, to see your questions, to look at the replies that you have to the questions that we put in the poll, and then to discuss with you how we can engage in the outreach events in the future, what we can do more, how we can make sure that what we have created together, by taking on board your views, your input, it could be maintained, it could be improved, it will be adapted in the future, and how we can continue our collaboration at local level with all stakeholders so that we will be able to adapt our system in the best possible way and to address the needs that you have. So I don't want to say a lot of things more, but I would like just to inform that we have started with a poll question on which support services have you received, contracted, consulted the most under Horizon 2020. And this is a teaser, I would say, for our conversation today. So that changes all the time, and that I see the document that has been most consulted, or service has been most consulted, it looks like, is the annotated model grant agreement, which had been, of course, criticized that it's very complex, but it looks like that. And then we have the national contact point, which is 48%, online manual 39%, easy training 25%, and then the outreach event was only 8%, and the research inquiry service 8%, sorry. So that means that there is probably a lot of more work to be done on physical presence, on physical discussions, but I wouldn't like to take more of your time. I would like to go directly to the first panelist, Karina. The first question is for you. Based on your recent experience with the consultation events offered to the member states, how should the Commission organize the widespread communication and dissemination of the implementation strategy of Horizon Europe? When all these elements will be finalized, what should be our point for attention?
Thank you very much, Anna. Thanks for the invitation, and it's really wonderful to be on this women panel. I found it very inspiring. The only thing I regret that we are doing here not physically. But anyhow, we have to adapt in these circumstances. Anna, what to tell you? The question is a bit provocative because I don't dare to give so direct advices to the Commission. But of course, I'm here to share my experience and my way of thinking forward, because I think for the first time we really unite around the proposal, and I think we all support the Commission that we are in need of a strong promoting and outreach strategy. I'm very happy to see that we are not anymore talking about communication strategy or information strategy, but outreach, which I found much more inclusive and interactive with the stakeholders. Of course, I also can't avoid my background, because I start my career as NCP. So I really believe that the NCP network is the backbone, basically, of the outreach and of the involvement of stakeholders. But in the same time, we are all aware that the framework program is not the same program as it used to be 20 years ago. It's with much more layers. There are much more political goals we unite to reach, such as the Paris Agreement, the climate neutrality. Now we see also the new challenge with the COVID. So there are also many other aspects that somehow I think that we can't leave only to NCPs to do this outreach. So I think the Commission did quite a big experiment in 2019, and unfortunately this year we couldn't interact more because of the COVID. And this was really events, consultations, exchange of views with stakeholders such as administrations or managing authorities dealing with structural funds, or basically newcomers in the research and innovation. So I think it was quite enriching, and I was very happy after so many years, of course, to have experienced people back to Bulgaria on spot, because this is always helping, of course, to answer some questions and so on. But my advice is, to be honest, really to concentrate and to fill in with blood the new concept of outreach. And I fully support what I see in your words, that we should much more inform, interact, and involve stakeholders. And of course, we should prepare the NCPs with maybe with some targets and some elements. What does it mean outreach? Because it's not anymore only to spreading information or preparing stakeholders with check on their projects. It's already much more about also promoting your stakeholders to outside the world. Because what we want in Horizon Europe basically is to break the seals, to have much more inclusive program and much more geographically covered the whole member states and beyond. So we really need to consider a kind of targets or kind of a tools for the NCPs and training. The other thing I believe I would wish much more to see in the strategy is how basically we address the beneficiaries of the program. I remember very well how we agreed to have this very important element in the regulation for the project beneficiaries to have communication campaign. And this is extremely important. But are we there where we want to be? Is this just kind of, the checklist of the beneficiary? Or we should much more strengthen this element and discuss with the beneficiaries of Horizon projects how they should basically outreach and produce a spillover effect, addressing different challenges and communicating with different users their results of the program. Mm-hmm. So in my personal opinion, of course, it was very important so far what have been done on the co-creation, because if we don't have a good program, there is nothing to communicate, okay? But nowadays, especially in these challenging worlds, with the digitalization possibilities, we should much more explore how basically we turn the outreach strategy also vice versa, meaning promoting partners, promoting results, so that we have really research and innovation largely spread to policies, to newcomers, to other regions. I never hide. I always said that we should abstract somehow also from national or European level and think really globally. And for me, we have much more to explore also and to do basically concerning the outreach strategy to the world. We should also consider how to scale up what we already have to the Youth Access probably network, to some other concepts such as science diplomacy. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't consider the outreach strategy as a kind of we have to do, or a checklist. It is really the basics of more involvement, more research and innovation in our society, more trust in our society. That's why it's so important to research and innovation. And last but not least, of course, the outreach strategy, and from the Commission, we expect that they'll bring a little bit more clarity among the member states and the stakeholders concerning different programs and instruments. But I will intervene later on this point, because I think concerning the synergies between the different programs is also something that we should very carefully address.
Thank you very much, Karina. Thank you very much. And indeed, I take on board what you said. Outreach means on how the program is implemented, but outreach means how the beneficiaries themselves, they could promote more the results. They could bring other stakeholders, interested parties on their results and how they can take them up. Very interesting point. Liga, from your side, what are your plans in your country to further support applicants and beneficiaries to participate to Horizon Europe? And how do you want us, the Commission, to support in these plans?
Well, thank you, Anna. And also thank you for the greetings from Riga. And maybe first, a few introductory lines on the topic. When developing our national science, technology and innovation guidelines, we actually follow a similar co-creation approach to Horizon Europe. Instead of simple outreach informing stakeholders about policies, the ministry adopted a liaison officer role and created the document with stakeholders. And our national level experience clearly demonstrates that co-creation is essential, not only for improving the quality of policy, but really for also involving wider society and fostering better understanding about the role of research and innovation in modern economy and well-being of society. So we can easily see and draw parallels with the process for Horizon Europe. Well, year 2020 so far has been very specific, as well as illustrating the critical role of R&I for overcoming the social and economic impact of the crisis and accelerating transformations across industries and public sector. The COVID crisis has actually demonstrated that it is possible to rapidly and constructively align priorities of stakeholders to address a common challenge. And we believe that we must carry on this practice to the European Union recovery instrument, ensuring that member states have a proper say in shaping its priorities. And I sincerely hope in that manner that COVID will continue to inspire co-creation in a post-pandemic world. Well, while the experience for national co-creation exercise and that of Horizon Europe is generally positive, there have been, I have to say, deficiencies in providing specific feedback to all stakeholders on how their input has actually shaped policy. And we think that citizen science, which received broad support from the informal ministerial meeting, could also perform a more active role in co-creation. Co-creation and involvement of society is vitally important for widening countries, which find it more difficult to participate in shaping and influencing EU-level policy. And therefore, our experience shows that institutionalized co-creation mechanisms could be very helpful. For example, in November 2019, the Latvian NCP, together with the Ministry of Education and Science, organized an event towards Horizon Europe implementation in Latvia, which received good feedback from the participants. The event facilitated the alignment of our national priorities, among them the clean energy transition, resource efficiency and circular economy and cancer, with Horizon Europe, and also fostered better cooperation between Ministry of Education and Science and the National Health Service. But allow me also one critical remark. Our observation is that the lengthy online surveys are often too complex for stakeholders to understand. Since surveys are not representative, one should be rather careful in drawing conclusions. Those surveys, we believe, should rather be used as mechanisms through which ideas can feed into the policy design on the work programs, rather than verification for top-down proposals. As for the specific questions, Anna, that you highlighted, on our country plans to further support applicants and beneficiaries to participate in Horizon Europe, I have to say that creating synergies between Horizon Europe and other EU programs is key. And therefore, we fully support new amendments in the proposal of the regulation of Horizon Europe. It has been a long journey since the discussions began, but we can be satisfied with the result. And at this instance, I also take the opportunity to thank the Commission for your effort, and I sincerely hope that those improvements will be endorsed in the forthcoming Council meeting. In Latvia, we intend to use the whole palette of opportunities for synergies with the European structural funds, hopefully also maritime and fisheries, and agricultural fund for rural development. And actually, we have already embedded this palette of activities in our national development plan for 21-27. So co-financing, spreading excellence and widening participation activities and co-financing other research projects with Latvian smart specialization areas, funding participation in Horizon Europe partnerships, planning synergies and scaling up successful projects. We also plan to support the preparation of project submissions and use the new recovery instrument for digital transformation. Along that, we have also set the Horizon Europe participation as a KPI for research institutions and program evaluation. And we believe that this will increase incentives across all the R&I system in Latvia to participate in Horizon Europe. Now, how do we want the Commission to support these plans? Well, I have to say we are very practical about it. Continue funding the NCP network and networks of NCPs. Regularly organize stakeholder consultations in the member states, especially for priority areas such as the digital transformation and the European Green Deal. We think the Hop-on scheme should focus not so much on coaching, but rather help researchers in widening countries integrate into collaborative research consortia and networks aligned with our smart specialization areas. Continue promoting the seal of excellence across the sectors. Now we urgently need technical seminars in order to understand in detail how to implement those synergy provisions. And last but not least, continue promoting seal of excellence, simplifying the financing of such projects on the national level from EU structural funds, as we are working hard to encourage our ministries, other line ministries, to fund their priority projects with the help of this scheme. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Liga. Thank you very much for this very clear statement. And I would like indeed to reinstate what you said. Program implementation, it comes on the top of policy making. So we need to have a robust and clear policy making, which could put in practice through the program implementation. Synergies in particular in structural funds, it is the new novelty of this new financial period. A lot of work has been done together with the member states to hopefully come with a proposal that will be agreed by everybody, by the Council, and accepted, of course, by the Parliament. And then I fully agree we have to come to the practical implementation of these synergies, and then an outreach event and explaining clearly how the synergies, how Silox excellence, how synergies with structural funds could be implemented is a very important outreach event that we have to organize in all member states. Cornelia, based on your long experience and involvement in R&I programs, how would you assess the Commission's outreach efforts and proposed strategy at Horizon Europe? What elements are the most important for the wide research community in Germany, and what could be further improved according to your needs?
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And now, as the political decision on Horizon Europe are getting nearer to a decision, hopefully, I think the question of implementation is becoming more and more urgent. And I think today it's in perfect timing, and it's a really good time for discussing an outreach strategy for Horizon Europe. In my view, there are 3 points I would like to focus on because I think they are crucial for implementing the strategy. The first one is to stay in touch with the research and innovation community and the stakeholders. This is what Anna, you said at the beginning. The second one is developing and supporting NCP systems. We have heard a lot about NCP systems from my previous speakers. I will focus on this a little bit as well. And the third one is improving and developing technical tools in digital applications, meaning the funders and tenders portal, but also the other tools the Commission is offering. I will go more into details on these points in a moment, but before I do so, I would like to invite you to take a look at the past with me. It was almost 2 years ago when the Commission contacted us with the idea of holding a joint workshop. The idea was to invite researchers, consultants, with a lot of experience in the framework program. We thought it was a good idea, so in June last year we met in Munich and we discussed the implementation strategy of Horizon Europe with the Commission. The meeting was an important and successful step, I think, in developing an outreach strategy for R&I funding, and it happened at a very early stage of preparing Horizon Europe. I think we need this kind of exchange in both directions with the Commission, but as well with the research and innovation community, because implementing Horizon Europe can only succeed if the circumstances and the needs of local actors at universities, in research institutions and companies are put into focus. An effective outreach strategy is not only the goal of the Commission, it's also on member states level. For instance, in Germany, we are currently discussing a lot about what kind of information should be communicated for supporting researchers and what information channels are best suited for this purpose. To get more information on this, we conducted a survey at the beginning of this year to ask German researchers for their advice needs. And let me share with you just one of our main findings. It was that researchers willing to coordinate a project, they need additional support. So the Ministry of Education and Research has already addressed this point. Starting next year, a support measure will be initiated to assist German coordinators of Horizon Europe projects in the application process. I know that each country has different requirements and must intervene in a targeted manner, but the tools and the services of the Commission are the basis for all of them. In my opinion, it's really important to align national strategies, national outreach strategies, with the European outreach strategy. Now I come to the second prerequisite for a successful strategy, implementation strategy, and these are the national contact points. As I'm a coordinator of the national contact points in Germany, and I've been working as an NCP for many, many years, I know they play a central role in the implementation of Horizon Europe, and they are particularly relevant for an effective outreach strategy. For example, in Germany, we have more than 130 people working in the NCP system, and I know that they need timely and comprehensive training to enable them to give high quality advice. They need to receive practical and up-to-date information from the Commission on the program content, the application procedures, and other overarching aspects. But besides this, furthermore, they need to be given the possibility to exchange to exchange with each other, not only on a national level. This is what we are going to organize, but also on European level. We had very successful NCP projects, I remember, in Horizon 2020, and I think they have been proven very effective. Essentially, it's the Commission's own tools and services that form the basis for NCP work. And this brings me to my third and last point of my statement. And in the end, I think all applicants depend on the funding and tenders portal. And it is important that this platform continues to be improved and it's accessible as a one-stop shop. And at this point of my statement, I would like to be very specific, and I like to make two recommendations, which my colleagues gave me when I told them about this panel. The first one is it's very difficult integrating a large number of programs into one portal, and I think it's important so that users can access Horizon Europe really quickly. And the second one is for the FAQ section. We suggest merging the FAQ sections with other FAQ lists we already have collected, for example, in the NCP networking projects or by the legal and financial NCPs. You see, there are more ideas from our practical experience, which we were happy to pass on, but I don't think today is the right time to do this, and we don't have enough time. However, at the very beginning, I talked about communication and staying in touch with each other, which is so important to create an effective outreach strategy. Today's session, it's important contribution to this, but of course, we are always happy to stay in contact beyond this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cornelia. So the role of the NCPs, bringing NCPs from the different member states together and improving the tools in the funding center portal. This is my takeaway, and I would like to pass immediately to Cameron for her question. How do you perceive the set of support and training tools that Commission uses? The outreach events, the FTPs, the NCPs, the FAQs. Which one are more effective and which one you would like to be improved?
Okay, hello to everybody. Good afternoon. First, let me thank you for the invitation to participate in this session, where I would like to give you a few examples of events and activities that we think that are very positive for the communication with the Commission, and also some specific recommendations on what we think, how things can be improved. As you know, Spain has made a strong effort in the last years to increase the participation in the framework programs, and I think this effort has been successful in the terms that we brought our country to a very good position regarding regarding the situation of other EC countries in two important parameters. One is the rate of participation, and the second is the rate of return. So we are quite happy of the results of our efforts. And to get to that point, we really have done improve and implemented specific activities. And so we are planning that, one main thing for us has been the alignment with Horizon Europe is one of our priorities and the main objectives in this time. And for that, we have implemented a plan to foster the presence of researchers, companies, and institutions in Horizon Europe. And this plan includes measures to support coordinators, to improve the capacities of our institutions to advise researchers, and to train project managers. In general terms, we are quite happy with the position and the opinion about we have a good opinion about the tools that the European Commission offered to facilitate the participation in the framework programs. And as two positive examples, I want to comment on the funding and tenders portal that helps to simplify the participation in the UE programs, and where the participants find extensive information about opportunities even beyond Horizon 2020. And a second example is the Dash portal that we consider is also a good tool to learn about the destination of allocated funds. Besides this improvement, we want to make some recommendations that, based on our experience, may facilitate the participation in EU programs. It is now a fact that partnerships is going to be a significant part of the pilot 2, with almost 50% of the funds, dedicated funds. We recommended to include in the dashboard for all initiatives under the Horizon Europe. As an example, we note that some initiatives as association or EIT are not yet included. We think that the Commission tools to manage Pillar 2 should be available to partnerships and national funding organizations. In this manner, participants will have a familiar method and simple method to submit their proposals, saving resources and helping to standardize results from the evaluation process. Also, we think that the data generated during the implementation of partnerships should be accessible and transparent. So in this manner, agencies will have high quality data and analyze the results and implement actions in a better manner. And in general, we believe that improving the communication between our national science and technology information system and Horizon Europe will be a major step toward a real coordination of different administration events. Regarding the organization of outreach events, we think that events organized by the Commission and Member States, for example, Info Days, are really quite relevant for us. These events inform about the novelties, and also the presence of EC representative in our country or in the countries serve to bring Brussels to the location. And this is a very attractive point for the stakeholders, for the participation of stakeholders, and help really to spread the key message between the people which is interested. So we encourage the European Commission to keep this involvement in this type of event. From our side, we have been organizing we have put a great effort toward co-design and co-creation of outreach activities. We believe that also science is based on excellence. We need to include the citizens or increase the interest of citizens to participate in the decisions and in defining the objectives that science and innovation must target. So we have give a lot of importance to missions where the citizens contribute, and there's important citizen-driven content. We have done an important effort in making Spain a Spanish position through our missions that we have published and communicated to the Commission. Two examples of outreach events that have been held in our country are the COP25 conference held in Madrid that was focused on missions that gathered in the same place hundreds of citizens, scientists, commission, politicians to discuss in a common ground. And also, second one is the annual conference on framework program, which involve all stakeholders, the Commission, national, regional Spanish authority, where we disseminate information and open calls. So we strongly recommend keeping this type of events to foster an active engagement of participants and the interaction of attendants and people connected through digital channels. Other than these events, there are outreach activities allowing us to interact with users, to increase awareness in general terms, and to disseminate and spread a positive view regarding European funding. During the H 2020, the European Commission has started a good communication strategy, disseminating information through different channels and promoting social networks and media content. And we find that this communication is very useful to spread information about the program, the impact, and the benefits. On our site, and since the creation of Ministry and Science in 1918, the impact of our communication has increased significantly. We have a portal which is called ES Horizon 2020.s that offers, with more than 1 million users, that offer the latest news that can be of interest for Spanish applicants to prepare their proposals, and a good communication channel used by the NCPs to announce their activities. Twitter and LinkedIn, and also channels for promotion of Horizon 2020 in Spain. The number of users using these channels is increasing, and also frequently these channels are frequently used by NCPs to promote their activities. We believe that the aligning the communication and our strategies between member states and EU services will be very beneficial. That's for that, we think that the EU should put in place some sort of support to coordinate these activities. Finally, regarding training, we think that training activity developed for NCPs during the last month has very much satisfied the expectation of the participants. We recommend having frequent training courses covering both general and specific aspects of the programs. Once this pandemic situation is overcome, it will be useful to combine face-to-face training sessions with remote sessions to discuss specific points. We want to highlight the relevance of training on legal and financial issues that in our experience is one of the most welcome training activities. We annually...
Thank you very much. I think, Carmen, we have to stop and thank you for all your interventions and your very good ideas. More collaboration between European and national level, it's great and needs to be done. I don't know whether any questions from Slido coming from the audience. I would like to use the last 5 to 7 minutes from our discussion to look a little bit at the questions that we received from the audience. What I would like also to tell you that in the meantime, we have more participants participating to these sessions, and I've seen now there is a great balance between the usefulness of the annotated model grant agreement and the NCP, so 56%, 54%. So basically the two main tools, instruments that have been used, as well as the online manual that exists, which is at 36%. So indeed, what needs to be done more, it is physical trainings, discussions, meetings. This is a little bit lower, which means probably we have to counterbalance and to push our activities. I don't know whether we have any questions from the audience. I would like just to see it in my screen, because for the moment I don't see them. In the meantime, I'm wondering whether, before we go to the questions of the audience, I would like to ask Karina. Karina, you said you have been an NCP. You are now in the ministry, in a political role. How these two roles could be somehow be brought together? I mean, it's very difficult, I have to say. How the politician can understand the technical person and vice versa.
It's very, thanks for the question. Yeah, it's really very difficult, but this is the point. The administration is changing and the politicians are changing. I mean, that's why I think it's so interesting, but also quite challenging now, also for RTD, because people are changing. And we used to work in a very close scope with the NCPs, but also the framework program was different and in a way smaller. Also take it from the budget, but also with the synergies with other program. That's why I think that it's not very difficult to understand the two, because the politicians, without their outreach of what they are doing, then they are no one. So I'm supporting a lot, and I see really the role of NCPs much more not as a point. Maybe we should change the title, but as ambassadors or something like this. And we really should go out of our national borders and do much more trans-regional events. We were happy to organize a joint event with Romania. But for me, the point is in the future and together with RTD to organize, of course, something together with different regions in Europe and abroad, so that to have really a fruitful and rich spillover effect of what we are doing. Otherwise, we'll have always overlaps or always some that couldn't join on board, can't take the ship on Horizon Europe, and this is not good. We should really change and have a much more inclusive effect. But I think I took 15 notes today, so I'll send with pleasure some ideas and proposals.
Thank you very much.
Anna.
Thank you, Liga. I would like to give you the first question from the audience. How can we address the information gap between the results of the EU programs and the results stemming from national regional funding? I don't know. We can.
Okay, on the gap issue, well, that has certainly always been challenging. The first, I think, the best thing to be very well informed that the gaps do exist, and in what terms and to what level of detailed information we have, how they do arise. So that is, I think, first of all, that this is important, that we are well aware of what they are and what could be the best triggers actually to be put in place in order to manage them. Well, on our national level, then we follow very systematically our approach of analysis. We follow smart specialization monitoring, and we follow the key indicators and go more into details, not with kind of horizontal sort of attitude, but really specifically to understand what are the reasons and what are the results and how they can be transferred further, and what is with a tailor-made approach, what is needed to be taken further. But Anna, if you allow me to maybe come back on one of the issues that was raised on the funding and tenders portal. It's important what our community is saying. And also, if I link it together with the discussions that we've been following so many times in the ministerial councils, both formal and informal, I think it's an important issue to look at funding and tenders portal of social sciences and humanities flagging issue.
Okay.
Countries have raised so many times the issue of social sciences and humanities as a kind of real partner in everything that we do in research. And I think a lot of histories today tell us that it's about how people will behave and do things. So, and we know that there is an issue with the flagging of this. Maybe that's a technical thing that can be solved, and we'll just take our results to a different level.
Thank you very much. I think this is the end of our workshop. Unfortunately, we have to leave because the time is over. I would like to thank all of you for your participation and to ask all those participants that they sent replies and they were not able to be replied because we didn't have enough time, that they can use the functionalities that exist through the e-chat where my colleagues, they will be able to reply to those. Thank you very much.